Alright guys, I'm about to straighten my hair. I secured a comb from my mother that is thin enough for me to do my chase method. Oh, I almost forgot. Always heat protection. This one I've been using since cosmetology school. That's literally where I got it from. But always use heat protection. And as I stated, I just wanted to do a nice-ish hairstyle for the holidays, and was planning to do box braids, but no longer have the time or commitment to do the box braids because it takes way more energy and a lot more time. So I used to when I was straightening my hair more frequently, could straighten my hair in as little as an hour. But I don't straighten my hair quite as much anymore. So it takes a little more. The stray, like little hairs I'm trying to get are just getting in the way. Okay. Anyways, I wanted to film a chit chat while I film this, but I honestly don't even know what to talk about. I feel like I haven't come across a super interesting topic that's piqued my interest in a minute, and I don't really want to talk about my life right now. I know many people are still waiting on my living update, and I don't have one for you guys as of yet. So we're not going to talk about it. Although I guess I kind of just talked about it, but only to say there's not an update. Anyways, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, oh, you know what? This is kind of interesting. I want to share this story time video, and I feel like this is a good message. So, not super recently, but a while back, I watched Lecrae's podcast. Lecrae is a Christian rapper / singer. And he has a podcast called The Deep End. I'd never watched it before, but one of his videos was in my recommended, so I went ahead and watched. Oh my gosh. The longer my hair gets, it's way harder to straighten. And I always try to take my time and do the chase method. I need to take my necklace off. Also, I apologize. I know this is not like the best angle. That's like slightly better, right? But only slightly better. Anyways, I came across his podcast, and it was a podcast he did with this woman named Nala Rose, who is an ex-OnlyFans creator, and she basically was sharing her testimony. For some reason, I can't remember if I finished the whole podcast or not. I think I watched most of it, but I'm blanking on like if I watched the whole thing, so maybe I didn't. But I just wanted to share something that I think is really important, because I feel like a lot of Christians especially do this. So it is like more of a faith-based podcast. So if you're, I don't know, not someone who likes to talk about faith-based stuff, then I don't know, maybe you won't be interested, but I hope you stick around. Anyways, in the video, she talks about like her testimony, like why she got into basically OnlyFans, and then, you know, how she ended up leaving it. Okay, I don't think I watched the whole thing because I'm like, I can't remember. But one thing that I will say she mentions is that when she was younger, she basically was, I want to keep my content, you know, what's the word? Family friendly, but she was SA'd at some point by a like family friend growing up. And this is something that I personally have noticed is a commonality with people in that industry, is a lot of people who go into that have had some form of SA, and I feel like that single-handedly it has so many impacts on people. Okay, I'm struggling. I did not put down a thick enough section of hair to straighten. Okay, basically I feel like I've seen so many people with similar stories, and it's like very significant to me. It's like there's obviously a heavy correlation between, you know, how people view sex based off of their experiences with it. And if someone is assault was their first experience with it, it's obviously going to impact how that person views and thinks of it. So I feel like that's just something that I've come to observe across like multiple different people who've talked about it. But anyways, that was something she said that she definitely thinks impacted the way she viewed sex, which eventually led her to, you know, not think anything of it and got into the industry. But that's not even the point of my video or what I wanted to talk about. So she no longer is on OnlyFans. She's now married. And I happened to look up like her husband, and it was like this person I had followed on like I had previously followed him on like my old TikTok, and I was like surprised that was her husband, right? I was like, oh, like, because he was always someone who's always made like kind of like Christian content basically. So I don't know why I just wasn't expecting that to be her husband. But basically all of his videos pretty much, there's just like other men essentially shaming him for marrying a ex OnlyFans model, and like laughing at him, saying like, oh, like, you're getting blah blah blah, you know. Pretty much just like picking on and shaming him. And I also feel like too, any new podcast she goes on, now that she's a Christian, they will mock her or like shame her because of her past. And it's just like, it's so, to me, ironic how there are some people or some Christians who think it's okay to shame others for their past before they were saved, because everyone, literally every single Christian on the planet, has a past that Jesus saved them from. So I definitely don't think it's right that there's people who think it's okay to shame her for her past. And like, especially as a Christian, you know. And I'm not gonna assume that the people mocking her were Christians, because a lot of their comments definitely weren't giving that. There was really just one where a pastor, a quote-unquote Christian man, tried to basically be like, oh, she can't talk about, how is she going to teach people anything about Jesus because she was just doing, OnlyFans however many months ago. And I just thought that was so disrespectful and distasteful. And basically just like, a lot of people think it's okay to disrespect her because of her past work. And I think that's wrong. Like, you shouldn't treat someone as less than. Like, just because you don't, like, and I don't support, that type of work either, but I would never treat someone differently because they did, or, like, look down on someone. And I feel like any person who's a Christian and thinks it's okay to do that type of thing needs to reread the Bible and reread the part where on how to love people, how to treat people. And there's definitely like two sides to this issue, because the idea of how some Christians are very judgmental exists for a reason. And it exists because there are some quote-unquote Christians who believe they have the right to judge other people. But there's just like a right way to do it. Like, you're not supposed to shame people in the public, or like, I don't know, like, you're not supposed to treat people, belittle someone to judge. You don't have to belittle someone to judge them righteously. And some people, I feel like, are using that as a way to just bully people. Anyways, I'm really happy for her that she had, well, I will say this, I feel like, like I said, her husband, I looked up after I watched the podcast, was someone that I recognized. I was like, oh yeah, I think I followed him on my old TikTok, because I used to make a TikTok that had like a lot of like more faith-based. I had a lot of Christian content on there. And I feel like I stopped posting on it because I felt like it was very overwhelming to keep up or maintain like the content, because I feel like I'm growing in my walk. Obviously, not every person is called to preach or minister, and there's like an overflow of, like TikTok preachers and pastors or whatever. And I felt like I was getting in that realm, and I'm like, I don't think this is like how I want to, I guess emulate. I don't know. But basically, I felt like, every now and then I would share things that I feel like I was learning. And and I liked sharing it, but I feel like there's just like a right way. I started feeling like a lot of pressure, like, oh, I can only make this type of content, and I didn't want to, limit myself to what content I can make. So that's why I ended up making another TikTok account, which is the one that I post on currently. That's, just a mixture of different things. Like, I still share my faith in videos, but it's not like the main thing, or not the main content that I'm making. And it just was a lot more feasible for me to keep up with. Anyways, I think the first thing, and I'm not gonna lie, this is me just being honest, I was like, it's crazy, or it's not crazy, but comparison is the thief of joy, right? And so I know there's a lot of single Christian women out there, right? And hearing her testimony, which she does have a very unique testimony, going from like a pretty extreme work, she's made millions of dollars and then left it all behind basically to follow Jesus, which is, what a lot of Christians do. You don't have to have that, extreme story to have a testimony. But that was what her specifically was. Oh, y'all. Lord help me. I hope I'm like halfway there. I'm actually going pretty quickly. I might even be able to finish, okay, maybe not in 30, but definitely less than an hour. I'm making pretty good time. Anyways. After I saw who her husband was, I felt like a wave of almost like jealousy, right? Because I'm like, what? How is this person? Well, how do I explain it? I guess it was a sense of jealousy, and it wasn't even about the fact of, that she's married or whatever, because great for her and congrats to them. Every person, there's a right person for everyone. It's more so like sometimes we compare ourselves to other people. And even though I know like I am in no way, shape, or form really at this point ready for marriage, it was like, dang, this person who just got off OnlyFans has a husband before me, right? Like sometimes we think not doing certain things, it's basically like you can't think that you're better than someone or whatever. You can't think that you are entitled basically to have something just because you're not doing things other people do. But basically that was like my first thought was like, oh, which is crazy, right? Why was that the first thing I thought of? And then I really had to like take a look in the mirror and be like, why do I think that, 1 minute, that me being a Christian for as long as I've been means like I'm entitled to like have a relationship or something before someone else. I basically just had to like examine my own reasonings for, feeling like, I don't know, like what was I doing wrong that I was basically still single. And it's funny because I've been fine being single for most of my life. It really never bothered me, but for some reason it was like seeing that who she was married to made me like, I don't know. But her husband is definitely someone who I feel like helped guide her back to Christ, which is awesome. And again, her testimony, I feel like, will help a lot of women who maybe are seeking that sort of path, like recognize the harms. Like, she, even though she no longer does it, is still getting disrespected to this day by men. And it's like the men who are probably disrespecting her the most are the same ones who were probably would pay for her content when she was making it. So it's just like the same people who pretended to care for her or whatever are the same ones disrespecting her. But as I mentioned before, I don't think that industry produces anything beneficial for men or women. I feel like it breeds disrespect. It normalizes disrespecting women. And how she pretty much put it is that, you know, even on OnlyFans, you're still basically selling, well, you're selling your body. No pictures of your body, whatever. But you're selling your body, but you are might not have a I don't know how to say it respectfully. Like, basically, like, people who are sex trafficked, a lot of times, like, they have, like, a pimp, basically. And she was saying how it's like the pimp in OnlyFans are the people subscribed to her. They feel like they owned her in some ways. If they offered her enough money, she would do anything, basically. Like, so she basically talks about how it's like no different, basically, than prostitution, essentially, although some people pretend to think it is. She said it's just formatted slightly differently, but it's the same end result. And what's worse is, like, a lot of people end up with stalkers and people with very unhealthy obsessions. So overall, I think, like, you shouldn't, I especially think for me as a Christian, you should never judge someone by their past. I know people who used to be drug dealers, people who used to be in gangs, people who used to do a lot of horrible things that come to Christ and, you know, stop doing those things. And I'm like, the Christians are very diverse. So many Christians have lived a lot of different lifestyles and whatever prior to coming to know God. And that's why I'm always talking about how we should be kind to people and give grace to people. You know, you never know what situation someone is coming from. And it's just like someone being in that industry, in my opinion, doesn't mean they aren't deserving of being treated with respect by other people, because you really don't know the whole story. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Let's see what else. My mind's kind of blanking on topics I can talk about. I feel like I said, I usually, I just thought of it. Okay, guys. So, y'all are probably so tired of me talking about this, but like I said, it's just a topic I love talking about. So, my favorite YouTube channel, Daily Dose of Wisdom, it wasn't his channel. Okay. It was another channel. It's called What Do You Mean? Was talking about this debate that happened between this really popular YouTuber named Billy Carson and then this Christian anthropologist, historian. I forget what his actual title is. He basically studies ancient text and historical documents, but specifically biblical text, right? So they had this debate, and essentially the debate is filmed by one of Billy Carson's friends who had invited him to, do the podcast with him. And, he claims like he wasn't aware that he was debating anyone and thought it was going to be this like chill conversation or whatever. And I don't think like Wes Huff, who was the guy he debated, basically he's like blowing up now because of this debate. And essentially in the debate, Billy Carson's has like an entire YouTube channel that is essentially dedicated to him like disproving Christianity, is what it seems like. It seems like he's very anti-Christian specifically. This doesn't surprise me as a Christian because I read the Bible. But anyways, he's very specifically targets like Christians in a lot of his videos, and like tries to disprove like the Bible essentially. And how he claims to disprove it is he uses a lot of, quote unquote ancient texts that claim a different gospel than the gospels that are in the Bible, specifically in the New Testament surrounding the life and death of Jesus. So he basically got owned by Wes in this debate and was embarrassed by it. So he threatened to sue Wes if he uploaded the debate, basically. He was like, oh, if you show this, I will sue you, XYZ. And that pretty much just made people want to watch it even more, because like the fact that you're willing to sue someone over a video makes people, they want to know what the video is that you're willing to sue that person over. So he pretty much made it more popular by having that reaction. I'm so sorry, y'all. I've been so congested. It's whatever. We're fine. Everything's fine. I'm healed. I believe I'm healed. Just temporarily have a lot of phlegm and mucus in my system. Anyways, so in the video, all right guys, we're actually almost done. The back section is the longest section for me to straighten. So once this is done, it'll be a lot quicker, because this section is the hardest to straighten because it's the center of my hair, head, whatever. It's the most dense, and it's also hard for me to straighten my hair at this angle. Although I do my best, and I try to do this chase method. I feel like no matter how many people I let do my hair, I do my hair better than anyone else will ever do my hair. Every single time. Like, I feel like anytime I've let someone straighten my hair, they never get it as straight as me. And like I said, I don't even use higher than 400 typically, and my hair still is way straighter. And it's really just because I take my time. And a lot of times other people are like rushing because I have so much hair. But if you take your time and do it right, also, no, actually, I'm gonna give myself credit. When I was in cosmetology school, I spent majority of cosmetology school practicing silk press. Like, I don't know why, that was just the only thing I liked doing on my mannequin. So I've done probably like, I feel like I've mastered the silk press in my personal opinion. And a lot of it for natural hair is based off of how well you blow dry your hair. If you do not blow dry the hair well, it will not straighten well. So that's what I tell anyone that does my hair. I'm like, it has to be blow dried decent, straight. If it's not blow dried very straight, it's not gonna straighten this well. You also have to take your time and use small sections. All right, so the back half of my hair is done. I recently trimmed my hair. I might try to even it out, but it should be pretty even in the back now. I'm hot. Okay, back to the topic. So Billy Carson and this dude Wes Huff have this debate. You know, Wes Huff, like, very respectfully is correcting him as well. He's not being rude. He's not being disrespectful. He's saying, like, hey man, like, a lot of these texts that you're claiming disprove Jesus are either inaccurate or actually still promote the thing you're saying it doesn't, or just are known forgeries that were made well after Jesus died, and therefore they don't really know, have like a place to dispute the biblical text, basically. So he's very respectfully like trying to correct him and tell him, you know, like, the sources that you're using are not actually legitimate. And essentially, Billy Carson, who claims to be an expert on biblical texts and historical ancient texts, got owned by someone who really was an expert in that field. And it basically just blew it up even more. Anyways, that I feel like everything happens for a reason. I think Billy Carson is a very prideful person who's essentially been spreading misinformation about the Bible since he's been on YouTube. And he finally debated someone who was actually knowledgeable of the Bible that could actually, fact check some of the things he was saying about the Bible that were just completely false. So Wes Huff now has, like, I think when he initially did the debate, he had like 16,000 subscribers. He's at like over 100,000 right now. I haven't checked recently, probably more. Billy Carson had like millions of subscribers on his channel. So now there's more people watching Wes Huff as well. So in the end, I think that whole situation personally was God, using Billy Carson's pridefulness to elevate Wes Huff in his field. And it kind of was like a blessing in disguise for him. But Billy Carson, unfortunately, I feel like he kind of seems to be not doing so good. He basically went on a rant over the debate and made a lot of claims about, the debate. He wasn't prepared and everything else. And all I'm going to say is pride comes before the fall. Now, I do not wish ill will on Billy Carson. I hope and pray he maybe learns from this and actually looks into the historical accuracies of the Bible versus what he's been doing, which is trying to disprove it, because the Bible is full of so much knowledge, history, wisdom, and it actually is, you know, a book worth studying and knowing, in my opinion. Now, I am almost completely done reading the Bible, and we will be rereading it starting January 1st, 2025. So basically, one of my goals for myself is to read the Bible in its entirety every single year, to just continue to grow into it and learn. And I feel like this is easier said than done. I wish reading the Bible was easy, but you know, sometimes, especially like the chapters where it's just, but you know what's crazy? I know like the genealogy that's in the Bible is really important, right? Because the Bible is written over thousands of years, and the genealogy within the Bible literally traces Jesus back to Adam, essentially. Like every person in the Bible is genealogy. The genealogy is really a really important part of it. But when you're reading like just all of these names, sometimes I do be like, what's the word? Zoning out. But I know it's like important, and it serves a purpose. Anyways, that was one of the things. The other thing was I wanted to talk about this argument I've seen some atheists make about God specifically in the Christian Bible, supposedly supporting slavery. Because for some reason that was an argument some people are making as for I don't know why they don't believe in God. This idea that the biblical God supports slavery. I feel like I saw a couple of years ago, there's this well-known TikToker who all he does is debates, but he specifically debates like Christians about God and biblical stuff. He just seems to have this very like haughty, pretentious attitude about it. His name's Parker. I'm pretty sure that's all he goes by. Goes by on his TikTok. Like his TikTok name is just Parker. So anyways, this Parker kid was always trying to debate Christians about God, and he would try to like use this like gotcha, oh, you have to admit God does this and God does that, essentially. But what he would do usually is he would take a lot of verses out of context to try to apply. It was a lot of straw mans, but I'm not going to get into all of his debates. But basically, this Parker kid would frequently try to... I found a gray hair, guys. I was looking for a gray... I have more than one? Mommy! Y'all, I found 2 gray hairs. I'm gonna hold this one aside so I can go show my mom in a second. Y'all, I'm such like... I thought I saw a gray hair in my hair earlier and then I didn't see it. But I see that one clear as day. Y'all, we're just gonna say it means I'm getting wiser. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go show my mom. I'm almost done. All right, I'm back. I showed it to my mom. I said, this is proof hair grows. Your hair grows gray. It doesn't turn gray. Well, also learned that in cosmetology school. Anyways, I'm out of breath because I just went up and downstairs. Y'all, this is such like a random video. This is something I probably could have gone live to do. I'm still scared to go live on my YouTube channel right now. Like, I feel like live videos are kind of overwhelming for me. And also, I just feel like no one would show up. And I would just be there all by myself chilling, which I feel like is what I'm technically doing right now, but I'm, you know, I don't know, guys. All right, anyways, back to what I was saying. So that's one particular person that I know makes this argument about the biblical God, is that he supports slavery, and essentially what he will do is take like a singular verse out of the 66 books in the Bible, from a specific chapter, and ignore all the context surrounding it to make this very, in my opinion, dumb argument about God supporting slavery. And essentially, the other problem with, I feel like, this let me not use that word because I can't even say it. With this presumption is you have to first ask, like, I feel like they use this as some sort of moral, like this moral gotcha moment, like, oh, God supports slavery. I'm like, how can someone even make that argument about God when God's chosen people in the Bible, in the very Bible you're claiming, support slavery? He chooses slaves and then frees them from slavery to the Egyptians. That's like literally the point of the entire Old Testament, is God freeing the Jews, who at the time were the Israelites, from the oppression they were under in Egypt. He literally looked at all the different societies in the world, and he chose these people that were slaves as his chosen people, frees them, and then says, I'm going to bless y'all far beyond your needs. So I feel like people, like I say, if the overarching theme of the Bible is God freed slaves, why would we then say God supports slavery? It's just like, do people think? I think sometimes they don't. But anyways, I feel like that, it pretty much to me just makes his entire point mute. There's also a reason that a lot of passages were taken out of the Bible when the quote unquote slave Bible that existed, which essentially they took out the parts about like any sort of freedom or God wanting to free the slaves. And you know why they took that out? Because the slaves might get the idea that they're not actually supposed to be slaves. But why would they get that from the Bible if God supposedly supports slavery? Like I said, it's a very dumb argument for a person to make about the Bible. But I digress. So anyways, I feel like for me, it's obviously not an issue for Christians because Christians actually understand who God is, or they wouldn't be Christian. And this is what I said too for a lot of I feel like when people assume what you believe, or when people believe certain things already and then project those beliefs on other people, in order to assert, someone as being not as good as them or whatever, it's like you're taking, I got a little too close to my scalp, y'all. You're taking an assumption that you made to begin with to jump to the conclusion of God's supposed support of slavery, and then asserting that something that is clearly not true about God is true about God. And the laws that existed about slavery in the Bible were also just based on the context of people already owned slaves at that time, and the laws that God made surrounding slavery for them to follow were still more beneficial than the ones that others were following. Because obviously the slavery that the Jews were inflicted on by the Egyptians was not good. Oh my goodness. This actually might be the straightest my hair's gotten. Alright. Like I said, even when my friend did my hair for my birthday, it wasn't this straight. But that's because I had to tell her, well, she was doing me a favor. It was late. We was both tired, and we had limited products to work with. So I'm not going to blame it on that. But also I had to tell her how, like, my hair got to be blow dried. Completely. Alright. This process is definitely taking longer because I'm trying to talk. I would feel like I would have been done already if I was just like listening to music or watching a show. But I wanted to make a video for you guys because I haven't been filming a lot of content recently. And I feel like I want to share something. Honestly, I just feel like there's not a lot for me to share right now. I have, there's a lot more videos I'm planning to make in the new year, but right now, this holiday season, there's just a lot going on. I am quite behind, on my vlogs. So there's a lot of videos I need to be editing. But I have to wait. Okay, I was like, let me make sure my iron's still on, because there's been times where I accidentally turned it off and didn't realize, and then was straightening my hair with a cooling down flat iron, which is not a good combination. Alright, let's try to be done in like 10 minutes because this video is already 50 freaking minutes. I think this is my 3rd time straightening my hair this year, so it's not a lot. It's still not a lot of heat I'm putting in my hair. My hair is definitely not heat trained like it used to be. Well, it wasn't really heat trained, it was heat damaged. I feel like when they be saying, some people be saying heat trained hair, it's really just heat damage. Like the fact that your hair straightens easily is a result of is usually a result of excess heat, but my hair actually still straightens pretty decently. But it's been over a month since it was straightened because I straightened it the day before my birthday, so it's been like 6 weeks. Alright guys, I'm out of topics to talk about, sadly, so I don't know what to say. I feel like usually I have a lot to say, and recently I don't have much to say right now. I am going to be trying to help my dad a little bit next week. He's trying to like get the rest of his stuff, and then I don't know. There's honestly nothing new or exciting happening in my life right now. Which makes it like difficult for me. If I had another interesting topic on my head, I would talk about it. Alright, y'all, I think I'm just gonna end the video here, and if y'all want to see the final straightened, I guess you'll have to wait till my next video, because I guess this is why being live and doing this would be more entertaining, because at least I could be answering questions, which would give me something to actually talk about. I always have to come up with everything myself. You know, the next time I'm gonna see, this is why I need to remember my story time videos, because there's a lot of story times I have not made that I've been wanting to make, but I need to write them down because I can't remember them all. Alright guys, I feel like this is boring now.